I think it's the ability to adapt to whatever their requirements are and the ability to integrate. So one thing might be landing page strategies or conversion rate optimization. So WordPress can be adapted and manipulated to suit their requirements much faster than a closed content management system. If a new framework comes along, a new third party that can do, let's say, CRO better, usually with a closed content management system like AEM, it'll take a while for them to add it to their development roadmap, but with WordPress, it's more likely that it's going to be within the framework very quickly, or if not, we can create a bespoke integration and it allows them to be able to do things much quicker.
Hey everybody, it's Roger with Kinsta. I'm joined again by a good friend, Gyles. Hey Gyles, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, it's great to see you as well. You know, the last time we talked, we kind of got your intro and your background into enterprise WordPress. And today I really wanted to dive more into what it looks like to work in the enterprise with your clients, you know, in these larger organizations and talking to them about WordPress. You know, and I think, you know, there can be a lot of confusion around WordPress. It's looked at as maybe not a serious tool sometimes, although it's used in so many enterprises at this point. When you're talking with experienced marketers and they're used to using, let's say, a more legacy tool like Sitecore or Adobe Experience Manager, how do you approach those conversations to talk about why WordPress?
Often the first part of the conversation is to remove them from the concept of closed content management systems, which is where they've been very used to working in a sort of a very uniformed way, and to the tools that are available, and try and open their mind a little bit and introduce them to a more open source way of thinking that WordPress can be the center of their universe and it can do so much more and has the ability to scale and pivot much more with their needs, wants and desires. There is an education element around WordPress because there is still a bit of naivety that it's either a blog or it's not quite what AEM or Sitecore are, because what those two organisations are very good at is painting a picture and making people believe that they're the best thing since sliced bread, but the reality is WordPress is there, and in many areas it's beyond them now because of there's a bigger ecosystem and there's a bigger push to make WordPress the best enterprise content management system available. And I think what the shock that comes from most people when we deal with them is that the ability for it to do things, and for them to give them much more opportunity to try and diversify their marketing approaches in particular, and the ability to add in content at greater speed and add in more functionality, so we can work at a pace within WordPress that they're perhaps not used to, but it's what they get, what they really want, and it allows them to really move with their needs, wants and desires and achieve the results that they want to.
Okay, so kind of diving back in there a little bit, what are some of the pain points that you'll see when they're coming from these closed source systems that WordPress really opens the door for?
I think it's the ability to adapt to whatever their requirements are and the ability to integrate. So one thing might be landing page strategies or conversion rate optimization. So WordPress can be adapted and manipulated to suit their requirements much faster than a closed content management system. If a new framework comes along, a new third party that can do, let's say, CRO better, usually with a closed content management system like AEM, it'll take a while for them to add it to their development roadmap, but with WordPress, it's more likely that it's going to be within the framework very quickly, or if not, we can create a bespoke integration and it allows them to be able to do things much quicker. The other thing is it allows them to use tiered approach, use different conversion metrics as well. So I worked with an organisation which was a very large business insurance company, which is in the US and UK, and they wanted to use 3 different tools for CRO, and WordPress allowed them to do that. And what that allowed them to do is work out which one was most appropriate for them, but then try out their different unique features against each other. And it was very clever, whereas a closed content management system probably wouldn't allow you to do that.
Excellent. And you'll have to pardon my ignorance here. Can you tell me what CRO stands for?
Conversion rate optimization.
Excellent. Thank you. As a newly leading into marketer, I'm coming to grips with these terms. One of the issues that comes up in the enterprise is a lot more regulatory compliance. Is there anything unique to WordPress that helps a marketer meet these requirements that you've seen?
It's a difficult one, that, because all website and content management systems have to adhere to certain data standards, whether in Europe it's GDPR or in the US it's their data protection laws. So WordPress allows you to implement a framework that allows to make sure you're adhering to all those rules and regulations, but I wouldn't say it makes it stand out any more than AEM or Sitecore or any of these Umbrico or any of these other content management systems, because those are kind of overseeing for all of these. Each of these content management systems has to be able to adhere to these rules and regulations. I can't really think, from an accessibility point of view, WordPress is very good because it has a framework that allows for accessibility to be done very easily, but then there's plugins that allow you to monitor, and then obviously the ability to be able to adapt WordPress to adhere to these standards is good. In the Europe, we've got the European Accessibility Act in June, and we've just done a big outreach to a load of financial services organisations using WordPress, and they've already done all the requirements because they've got the ability to adapt them themselves through the content management system, or they've used a third party who can just adapt them the framework to suit their requirements. So at WordPress, the flexibility of it is definitely a factor, but the rules and regulations adhere to all websites and all content management systems.
And I think that, that's a great answer. At least it's showing WordPress is at the same level of these other tools, so that shouldn't be a concern for holding somebody back. When you're talking about performance conversations, what do you see are the most commonly overlooked performance issues, and how do you talk to the marketers about this at the enterprise level?
In WordPress, it's usually stuffing plugins, overcomplicating WordPress, adding in functionality that's not native or part of core. Usually when we get a new opportunity, 9 times out of 10 we'll do an audit and we'll find that, I'm just looking at an opportunity now that's got 49 plugins installed, and there's conflicts, and that's what's actually slowing down the website. It's not actually anything to do with WordPress itself, it's just that someone's come along and just stacked more potatoes on potatoes and created a chip salad. So 9 times out of 10, it's just so the organisation that we've been working with, an agency or whoever, freelancer, has just overcomplicated WordPress, and usually our role is to strip out unneeded functionality and go back to, as far as we can, to WordPress native, and that makes it faster. Then the other thing, of course, and speaking with you guys at Kinsta, is hosting, so making sure that you've got good quality base code that sits on good dedicated WordPress hosting. Those two together, then you get good speed and performance. The other big thing, which is very interesting, and there's kind of a bit of a shift, Headless was very much the thing in the most recent years, and yes, you got speed benefits and security benefits, etc. But a lot of people that we're speaking to now are trying to move away from Headless. They want to go back to Monolithic, partly because of the burden of managing a React-based, JavaScript-based front end. It's an interesting shift because 2-3 years ago, every conversation I was having was, we want a Headless, we want to do this, we want to do that, and now it's very much about how do we go backwards. Monolithic, if you do it correctly, can be as quick as Headless these days. So yeah, it's the big shift for me in the conversations is very much from Headless to Monolithic.
Excellent, and thank you for the plug for Kinsta there. I appreciate that. That was going to be my next question, is what have you seen be the biggest changes? And this Headless and the move away from Headless is something I've also seen a lot as well. And you pointed out that exactly what I'm hearing is it's adding all this extra complexity. You've got full page caching available, you've got CDN, you've got edge caching. So traditional WordPress can be made just as performant without all of the overhead. Besides this move maybe back away from Headless to the Monolithic, what other trends are you seeing in the enterprise that's really got your attention?
The one that everybody's talking about is AI, and then practical implementation of AI within WordPress to content workflows. So we're doing a lot of work around, especially for publishers, about how it enhances the content production creativity side. So yeah, there's a lot of third-party tools, bringing those in and making them work in a way that enhances, that doesn't replace people and things like that. So AI is very much the buzzword at the moment in our arena. Obviously WordPress have just introduced their AI construction tool, which is, in one ways, is very, very interesting. Another way, thinking, I hope it doesn't replace us, but I don't think it will, to be fair. And then other considerations is very much around full page editing, Gutenberg block editor, and how that can be used. And there's more of a push to how people can be more empowered with WordPress. and less dependent on an agency or whoever they use, a development team, to be able to be more creative on their websites and really create more of an experience. So a lot of the bigger organisations we work with, we do a lot of work around custom Gutenberg blocks. Other big thing is around exploring multi-site as a concept. A lot of organisations we work with have multiple brands, but they want to find more cost-effective ways of managing WordPress or moving from another platform, because we do a lot of migrations. And the concept of multi-site, where one instance, one to many, is very appealing to them. So there's quite a lot of movement around that area as well.
Exciting. Yeah, the AI buzz, I've got it. I'm using AI all the time, but I'm still also making sure I'm being practical with the usage here. And so I'm curious to see how things evolve out of that. One of the big things that comes out of the AI conversation is personalization. Are you seeing still a big push for companies really trying to create very personalized experience for their customers?
I think that there's always a challenge with that, because personalization, for me, it's amazing. It's a very interesting field to be in. But there's also an element that sits behind that and how that personalization works, the data, and then also content. So there's a burden on a business to be able to implement that effectively. I've not seen sort of a massive push for AI and personalization at the moment. Some of the tools that we use ourselves as an agency, very much so. So a lot of the sort of new business tools we use are very, very clever in terms of putting in information, how you want to personalize an outreach, and then finding opportunities, prospects, and then personalizing what that sequence looks like. And that for me has been, I'm a bit of a fossil really, because I've been doing this for a long time, but that blows my mind. We were looking at a tool called Lemlist today, and that is a remarkable tool. But in terms of the practical implementation on a website, I think at the moment there's an education piece for some people. I came from an e-commerce background where there was a lot more personalization, and that was more driven by personalizing product information. So it was cookie based, so you went away, you came back, and then you'd see similar product recommendations and things like that. But in terms of like a B2B marketing website and things like that, I've not seen much of it myself, to be honest, and we don't get much requests for that, if I'm being honest.
Very good. It's always interesting to hear, what's actually happening versus the hype that we're getting thrown at us. So I appreciate all the insights as always. Gyles, if somebody's interested in getting in touch with you, talking with you about their enterprise needs, what is the best way for them to reach out to you?
Visit our site, multidots.com, fill out a Calendly request, or complete the contact form, or email me at gyles@multidots.com, and that's gyles@multidots.com. And I'd be more than happy to speak to anybody.
Wonderful. As always, great to speak with you. I will see you in Basel shortly, and we'll talk to you soon.
Looking forward to it. Thanks very much.